All right, guys. How's it going? And welcome to the GSMC Hockey Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Podcasting Network. We have a great show for you guys today where we start by breaking down last night's games. The first being the Boston Bruins versus the Florida Panthers. Our second segment then will be talking about the Oilers and how they were able to tie up the series with a last-second goal in that third period against the Canucks. Our third segment tonight will be me breaking down. Not breaking down Sunday night's actions. I did not update that in my notes. It'll be about me talking about the second round so far and how my predictions are doing so far. And then we'll be talking about who I believe to be the Conn Smythe winner on each team so far. And make sure you guys stick around for later in the show where I will be giving you my preview on the matchup between the Avs Stars that is happening right now. I believe that game is at 1-1 in the second period. So looking to be a good game. The Avalanche are going to need that one. But before we start with all of that, I would like to ask that you guys like and follow the show. We get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read live on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link that you guys see on the screen right now at GSMCpodcast.net. With any of your questions. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I see it, and it also really helps the show. Again, the link is, as you see on the screen here, gsmcpodcast.net. And without further ado, we're going to get right into the first segment tonight here, where we're going to be talking about the Boston Bruins versus the Florida Panthers. This game really boils down to Jeremy Swayman, the guy you see on the left of your screen here for the visual viewers. For our audio viewers, Jeremy Swayman is the Boston Bruins goaltender. He has been tremendous for this entire playoffs, and you really expect it from him. A little bit of a look into my fourth segment here. I believe Jeremy Swayman has been by far the best player for the Boston Bruins. He's absolutely clinical in front of the goal, only giving up one goal in this game, stealing this one absolutely when their offense wasn't able to produce as much as you want their offense to be able to produce. You got Jeremy Swayman to steal this one 2-1. He's been amazing. He has a 2.16 goals against average now, one of the highest save percentage in the playoffs, and that would be the highest goals against average for a consistent starter in the playoffs so far, over Igor Shesterkin, over Jake Oettinger, these goalies that have been absolutely stellar. The Boston Bruins are getting very, very good production out of their number one goaltender, Jeremy Swayman. They haven't even had a chance at going to Linus Ullmark here because Jeremy Swayman has stolen a lot. It was looking a little bit rough in Game 2 and Game 3 for the Boston Bruins when you see Jeremy Swayman give up 4 goals. He then gets pulled, and then he goes back and gives up 5 goals in the Game 3. But ever since then, he's been spectacular. This forces a Game 6 in Boston. The Bruins make the series 3-2 now. We see it in the Rangers Hurricane series, and we're seeing it probably tonight in the Avs Stars series. Teams have difficulty closing games out. It's very, very hard to win that fourth game of the series. It is the hardest game to win in all of hockey. Is that fourth win in a series. It's probably the same in any sport, really, that has 7-game series in baseball and in basketball as well. It's very difficult, and you're seeing that with the Florida Panthers here, not being able to close out the Boston Bruins. A little bit of a game breakdown for those of you that were not able to tune into this one. Morgan Geekie was the one that opened the score. This is his 4th goal of the playoffs, I believe. He's been very impressive, that third line forward for the Boston Bruins. I believe he's playing on in the top 6 right now because he's been very in form and playing very, very well. This goal specifically was insane. It was so impressive. It was a forehand-backhand sweep across Bobrovsky's crease, and he found the far side of the net. He's like, he gets the puck on the weak side of the goal, on his backhand side, to the right of the goal. He gets it from Jake DeBrusk, sends a little bit backhand, shows to Bobrovsky, comes back on the forehand, whips it in on the far side. It was such an impressive goal. Very, 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 very pretty. is how I would describe that one. And that's just something. It's a shock to see a guy like Morgan Geekie do that, but it's not a shock to see the Boston Bruins get something like that from a depth piece. That's been the Bruins kind of, been their motto, been their attitude for like four years now, I would say, ever since, maybe 5 years, ever since that 2019 series. It's really been about kind of depth piece, that rolling 4 lines deep, and you're getting, of course, you have that superstar in David Pastrnak. Of course, you have that horse on the blue line like in the Charlie McAvoy, and you got Jake DeBrusk, and you have these great pieces. But really, when it comes down to it, and when it comes down to these deep games in the playoffs, they're getting production. This is 2 goals in these playoffs from kind of depth forwards, and then Charlie McAvoy gets the goal, but the third line was the one that contributed on that goal. And that's really what you love to see if you're the Boston Bruins. Sorry. And that's what you want to see if you're the Boston Bruins, is getting that depth scoring, getting production out of your depth. That's been their MO, of course. That is what I said. And the Panthers have been really playing a lot in their top 6 here. When it's not Matthew Tkachuk, when it's not Alexander Barkov, they've kind of lacked that scoring. As you saw in this game, the Panthers were able to equalize this game at 1 apiece. I believe it was about early into the second that they were able to do so. It's Reinhart with his 5th in the postseason. It was an unbelievable shot from like the mid slot, if I'm not mistaken, and that beats Jeremy Swayman, and that's what does beat Jeremy Swayman, of course, is a great shot. It's a hard one for him to stop. He was unbelievable. Absolutely stole this one. The Panthers played very well in the second period and played pretty well in the third period. The first period was a little lackadaisical by them. So Jeremy Swayman able to stop a lot of difficult shots here, and that propelled them to. It was Charlie McAvoy that scores the third goal of this game for the Bruins to win 2-1. It's an unbelievable team goal for him. It's Frederick to Charlie Coyle to Charlie McAvoy, who gets the shot. It was like 2 backhand pass and then a backhand pass to Charlie McAvoy, and then he's just everybody's on the right side of the ice of the offensive zone, and there's just Charlie McAvoy going against the grain, kind of coming down the left dot, and he is able to shoot it with absolutely a clear look, and Sergei Bobrovsky is hard done by that play. It looked very pretty. That's what you want to see in the playoffs when you're a team like Boston, when you play a lot of like team looking games here. But yeah, when it comes down to the Boston Bruins, they've been unbelievable in these playoffs. They've been unbelievable, in the regular season for many years, because they're getting this contribution from their depth, because it's not just David Pastrnak who's called upon. It's David Pastrnak, it's Brad Marchand in the top, and then you got contribution. And then you got contribution from guys like Morgan Geekie, Charlie Coyle, in this one, Charlie McAvoy, and Jake DeBrusk, and that's really what you want to see when you are, if you're a Boston Bruins fan, or if you are someone who doesn't want to see the Panthers get to the Eastern Conference Final as easily as it kind of looked like they were going to be. It looked like they were going to need 5 games, and I thought that for a while that they were going to need 5 games. That was my original prediction for this series. I thought that they were way better than the Boston Bruins, as I thought that the Rangers and the Panthers kind of were a step above anybody else. But Boston kind of showing that, hey, let's hold the brakes on that talk here. We're not done with this one. We have the team needed to come back from a 3-1 deficit. I mean, any team that are still in these playoffs can come back from 3-1. Any of the 8 teams, if they're facing that deficit. This is the talent level that is in the NHL right now. You have you have consistent play from a lot of top guys, and you really saw it in this one from the Boston Bruins, who were able to warn off elimination here. For the remainder of the last two games, it is very important to note that the Boston Bruins are getting that Game 6 in Boston. So you have momentum from this Game 5. Then you're getting a Game 6 in Boston. It's going to be interesting to see if they can make this comeback, to make this 3-1 comeback, as the Florida Panthers did to them last year. It was in the second round. They matched up, and the Florida Panthers came back from a 3-1 series deficit to beat the Boston Bruins. And is history going to repeat itself, kind of switch, though, this time? It's going to be interesting to see, because this Florida Panthers team belongs in the Eastern Conference Final. They're really good. Their top 9 is unbelievable, and they're getting production from these guys. But you're looking at this Boston Bruins team, and you're looking at a guy like Brad Marchand. If you're looking at David Pastrnak, who isn't scoring. This is another game where you're not getting production out of David Pastrnak, but it's still his team. It's still really, he can change a game at any moment. He could steal them one, kind of like Jeremy Swayman stealing them. And then that's a goaltender that belongs in a conference final, really belongs maybe even in a Stanley Cup final. This performance, you could probably say that a lot about maybe 4 goaltenders that are playing right now. I know Eager maybe deserves this. Bob might deserve a conference final. And then, of course, Jake Andre on the west side deserves this. Maybe even Artur Shilovs. Artur Shilovs is playing very good hockey. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. He looked like he was about to steal that game in Edmonton. But yeah, the Boston Bruins are going to just need more from their depth, and then Pastrnak needs to score. Pastrnak needs to get on the score sheet somehow, some way. Or he's going to need to start saying his team up. He's going to need to start playing a lot more team hockey, team-oriented hockey, maybe even on the power play. This series is being decided 5-on-5. It's not a lot of special teams goals that are going in. Both teams are very great on the penalty kill, very great defensive teams here. So in this one, it's hard to believe that the Boston Bruins are going to win 3 games in a row. It's not that hard to believe that, hey, maybe Jeremy Swayman steals one game and Pastrnak wins you that other game, and bang, there it is. So from this point on, it's going to be interesting. This was a very important game for the Boston Bruins to win, not only because they're warning off elimination, but if they were going to win a game, it's got to be like this. It's got to be low scoring. Jeremy Swayman has to steal one, and you still aren't getting production out of your big guys, and you assume that that's going to turn around on them. It's going to be interesting to see how Boston seemed very confident going into the rest of the series, so it's going to be interesting to see how they play more going down the stretch, and more when it is Game 6 and then in Game 7 if it makes it there. So that'll wrap it up for our first segment. When I come back, we'll be talking about the second game of last night, the Oilers-Canucks game, and that had a wild ending, and I cannot wait to talk about that one.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Alright guys, we are back, and we are going to be talking about the Edmonton Oilers and the Vancouver Canucks. But before we get into that series, if I could remind you guys, if you have a question or a comment you would like to see me read out loud live on air, go use the tips and donations link at GSMCpodcast.net with any of your questions. It really helps out all of us creators here at GSMC Sports Network. But without further ado, we're going to get right into this next topic here. The Edmonton Oilers and the Vancouver Canucks here. Man, this game was fun. This game might have been probably my favorite game of the playoffs so far. Edmonton steals this game 4. Maybe not steals, but it really felt like the Vancouver Canucks had so much momentum going into what we thought was an inevitable overtime. Edmonton scores with 39 seconds left in this game to win it, to go up 3-2, I think was the final score of this one. And Draisaitl, I don't know if I can give enough credit to this guy. He has been unbelievable, and he's kind of stepped it up in the playoffs his entire career. But this is different gravy. He's almost a goal per game, and he is at 2.22 points per game in these playoffs. He has 20 points in 9 games played. This guy, Leon Draisaitl, is playing NHL career mode. We're going to talk about him when we go into Conn Smythe winners for each team, because, man, this guy's ridiculous. This guy is absolutely ridiculous. And he's wheeling the Edmonton Oilers in these playoffs, him and Connor McDavid, and maybe even Evan Bouchard. He's been great, too. Anyways, this game specifically here, the Oilers opened the scoring with a power play goal here. This is a ridiculous goal. I don't know if I could give this goal justice, so if you want to look at one of the greatest hockey goals I've seen in its entire playoffs, watch this one. Oilers have the puck. This is on the power play. They have it in the offensive zone. Connor McDavid has it. He's skating through the high slot. He draws like 2 defenders towards him. That leaves Leon Draisaitl on the right side, just wide open here. Connor McDavid doesn't even look at Leon Draisaitl once in this entire moment, but he stick handles through. You have forwards on the 2-point men, and then you have 2 defensemen that are kind of coming up onto him. He stick handles through the 4 guys and then whips the puck over to the right circle, and it gets to Leon Draisaitl, who's just camped out on that right circle, and he gets one in on the power play. Man, this is the definition of different level when we're talking about, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. These guys are insane, and this is what I'm talking about when we're saying these guys are insane, man. This goal doesn't happen on any other team. I promise you that. Nobody else is doing this. The kind of stuff that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl do together on that power play, it is insane. But yeah, he doesn't even look at Leon Draisaitl at any point, but he perfectly passes it to him right on the blade of his stick, where he's able to take just one kind of move towards Artur Shilovs, who was, trying to sell out for Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman, who are kind of on this right side or on the left side right now. There's nothing Artur Shilovs can do. There's nothing any of the Vancouver Canucks defensemen can do. This is just an Edmonton Oilers goal. This was truly insane. And then Draisaitl with an absolute he rips the shot in. I have not looked at the speed on it, but it's definitely north of 90, maybe even north of 90, 97 might be where that shot was when it reached the back of the net. Man, this was a great goal. But you have this 1-0 lead for the Oilers, and then Shilovs kind of shuts it down in the second here. For most of the second, it was just Artur Shilovs buying the Vancouver Canucks time, is how I'm going to put it here. He looked great. I would give him. I'm going to give him that, but it was the onslaught of pressure from the Edmonton Oilers. It looked like it was going to kind of crack at some point, and it does eventually crack, but Artur Shilovs holds it up for so long. It's like duct tape on a sinking ship. It's like you can only have that going for so long, and then it's just gonna peel off, and then water's gonna start flooding the ship, and that's what Artur Shilov's held it on for a lot longer than any duct tape could ever do. But, with time expiring in the second period, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has an absolute snipe that gets past Artur Shilov's. He had McDavid on a cross crease here, had McDavid kind of wide open, and he looked him off. He stares down McDavid's stick and then fires the shot on net. That's what fooled Artur Shilov's. I'm not blaming Artur's for this goal here. This was a great play and a very confident play by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who this is kind of the year that we're seeing him break out, I guess, in these playoffs. He's played very well. I think he has 11 points. I think he has 2 goals and 9 assists. 2 goals and 9 assists through the first 9 games for the Edmonton Oilers. So he's playing very well, over a point per game, in an assist per game. And this was his second goal of the playoffs. He's been playing great. But Artur Shilov's, let me talk about this guy for a second here. He steps up for an injured Thatcher Demko, and you're looking, and I'm guilty of it. I was saying that you need to go to Casey DeSmith. This is a guy with playoff experience. This is a guy that's been around the show for a very long time. He's been on great Penguins teams that have been on great runs with Matt Murray. And I really assumed that Casey DeSmith was just going to come in and hold off any team until Thatcher Demko is able to get back. But it's Artur Shilov's who looks. I don't know if Thatcher Demko is doing any better against these Oilers, and that's no knock to Thatcher Demko, who I believe is an unbelievable goaltender. This is all giving praise and giving flowers to a player that absolutely deserves it. Artur Shilov's has been great these playoffs, and you gotta give credit where credit's due sometimes. Prove me wrong for sure. I couldn't pronounce his name for the first 2 episodes I was doing of these playoffs when he did step up. I thought it was like Seelovs, but no, he's been great. He forced me to learn his name, that's for sure. And let me tell you, he's gonna be. He's 23. He's young. He's the next kind of guy up. You are blocked by Thatcher Demko, but is this going to be a situation where we could kind of look at like a Boston Bruins situation? Jeremy Swayman and Linus Ullmark is the greatest goaltender tandem in the league. And I think we could see that in Vancouver here. You have great production from this guy, and that's really what got them to the third period on only a 2-0 deficit, and what made them kind of be able to start coming back a little bit in this game. The first goal from the Vancouver Canucks, it was Connor Garland. He got his second goal of the playoffs. This is Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov on the assist. It's just a great shot from the point that fooled Calvin Pickard. And I'm not gonna say Calvin Pickard is the answer for the Oilers here, because Stuart Skinner was horrendous. I talked about it on Monday. He is statistically the worst goaltender to play. I think it was over a certain amount of games. He's statistically the worst goaltender over X amount of games in expansion playoff history. This is not a stat you want to see your name on. But yeah, it's great production out of Calvin Pickard in this game, only allowing 2 goals. His goals against average in this playoffs right now is a 1.57, and I think you keep going there. You keep going to that well. He's proved to be the better goaltender, and Stuart Skinner is not a good goaltender, man. So you keep going to Calvin Pickard if you're the Edmonton Oilers. This is a shot from the point. It's screened in front at Dakota Joshua. I should get that name right. He was an Ohio State alumni. I go to Ohio State. But yeah, great shot from the point from Calvin Pickard there. And then the Canucks with an empty net goal ties this game. They pull Artur Shilov's with about a little bit less than 2 minutes left in this game, and this goal comes in with 1 minute and a half left here. It's a Dakota Joshua goal. This is the former Buckeye here again. That's his 4th goal of the playoffs. He was great throughout. He was great throughout the regular season, and he's been great in these playoffs here. I believe he has 9 points through the 10 games or 11 games the Canucks have played. They've played 10 games. He has 9 points through the 10 games that the Canucks have played, and he's been a very, very welcome surprise for that third line. He's on a lot of the special teams lines as well. He's been great. And for those of you that watched the game, when the Vancouver Canucks scored this goal, it felt weird. It got loud in the Rogers place. I know this is a Canadian on Canadian matchup. BC and Alberta aren't too far from each other. Aren't too far. It's probably like a 7 or an 8 hour drive from Vancouver to Edmonton. But there's not a lot of space in the middle, so I bet a lot of those guys kind of in the middle are Edmonton or Vancouver fans. And it seemed like there were a lot of Vancouver fans, and it got loud when the Vancouver Canucks scored this goal late. I was shocked. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I was absolutely shocked. For any of you guys that watched this game, it seemed very loud in that one. But the Oilers, man, they're gritty. They're showing some fight here in these playoffs. They score with seconds left in this period. 38.7, I believe, was on the clock when they scored this goal. Evan Bouchard just sends an absolute missile from the point, man. This shot is harder than Leon Draisaitl's shot earlier. Evan Bouchard, what a player he's become. This is a very welcome addition for this blue line of the power play, for this blue line of the Oilers. He's been great in these postseasons. In this postseason, leading defenseman scoring in postseason points, with Quinn Hughes on the other side of this. On the other side of this series, he's outplaying Quinn Hughes. He is outplaying Cale Makar, who has an absolute star-studded Colorado Avalanche team. This is so impressive what Evan Bouchard is doing, coming from really nowhere. Maybe a product from Connor McDavid, maybe a product of Leon Draisaitl, but maybe you just gotta give credit to Evan Bouchard. He's been lights out in this playoffs, and it's gonna be fun to see if he could continue this. You got 3 games left in this series. It's gonna be very interested to. I'm gonna be very interested to see what comes out from this. And after this goal, and I think this is a product of how loud it got when Vancouver scored their goal. Rogers' place was screaming. The commentator, I forgot to look up who was the one doing the color of this game, but he says the roof is about to come off the building in Edmonton, Alberta, and that's so true, and it absolutely was. What an atmosphere. This game might be the best game of the playoffs so far. I'm saying it definitely is, in my opinion. It was so exciting to see these two heavyweights go back at it again. And this power play for the Edmonton Oilers, I'm going to talk about that more in the next segment and how that's going to affect the remainder of this best of 3 of this series. I'm very excited to see the last 3 games of this one. Yeah, that will do it for our second segment. When I come back, we'll do a review of my series predictions and kind of do a breakdown of the series so far.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, guys, we are back for our third segment, a round 2 series predictions look back. We're going to get right into this one with the first series that I talked about being the Rangers versus the Carolina Hurricanes. My prediction, first off, Rangers in 6 was what I had written down. I didn't think that it was going to play out this way. I thought it was going to be more of a 1-1 split in each of the first 2 home and road trips, and then it was going to be the Rangers in Game 5 and Game 6. I was wrong in that, but I did have Rangers in 6, and I'm going to stick with Rangers in 6 is still my prediction. I think that they're going to win Game 6. It is in Carolina. That is very difficult. It is a very difficult game for them to win, as PNC Arena has proven to be probably the most electric home ice environment. How is that one the most electric home ice environment in the NHL right now? Madison Square Garden is a very difficult place to play. Rogers Place is proven very difficult. Scotiabank, the Toronto Maple Leafs arena is historically difficult, but they aren't that great right now, so you're not going to give them that benefit. But yeah, it's hard to beat the Hurricanes on the road. They have a lot of momentum in this series, but it is a little bit of a heat check with these. They have 2-day break. They're not playing tonight. They're playing tomorrow night. Their last game being on Monday. Was that when they played last? It was Monday when they played last. I have a memory. But yeah, Monday, last time that they played, they wait until all the way to Thursday, so it's a little bit of a break for them. Maybe that cools down the momentum for the Carolina Hurricanes. Maybe that gives the New York Rangers a little bit of opportunity here in this series, and I think that they're going to take it. I think that they're winning this Game 6 tomorrow night. My keys to this series originally were the Carolina Hurricanes needed to play fast, they needed to beat Igor Shesterkin with deflections, and they needed to win the special teams battle. They played a lot faster in the last 2 games. Sebastian Aho and Jake Gensel and Teuvo Teravainen and Andrei Svechnikov and Brady Shea and Brett Pesce and all these young forwards and defensemen and great pace players showing it in the last 2 games. But in the first 3, that's how they go 3-0 down in this series, is from not having that up tempo that they normally play with. It looks kind of like a chip on their shoulder. Like they need to play fast. They need to play this style of hockey. This is the style of hockey that Rod Brindamore brought to this team. Of course, Stanley Cup champion with the Carolina Hurricanes. And man, he's a great coach, and he's kind of coaching them very well right now, especially. Can they do it here? Are they able to come back from a 3-0 deficit? No. That is what I'm saying. Of course, it's reflected in my predictions with Rangers in 6 here. I have no faith in that one. It would be, first off, unprecedented to do it against a President's Trophy winning team. It's only happened 4 other times. Most recently, it's only happened 1 time in this millennium. In the 21st century. That only time was the 2014 LA Kings in the first round against the San Jose Sharks. That was the first round, and that was a good Kings side that went on to win that Stanley Cup final. This is a different Hurricane side than that LA Kings side, and I have no faith. And that 2012 LA Kings team won the Stanley Cup, and then they do it again in 2014. The Canes didn't win the Cup in 2022. I don't see them doing this here. The New York Rangers are such a great hockey team. They're playing at an insane rate in these playoffs. They started 7-0. It's very hard to close out a team, but I believe that they get it done in Game 6. That's reflected in my Rangers in 6 updated prediction from my Rangers in 6 beginning prediction. Moving on, we have the Panthers versus the Boston Bruins. This series has been a lot better than I thought it was going to be. My original prediction was Panthers in 5. It was very close to happening if Jeremy Swayman doesn't have the game of his life in Game 5. But hey, I can't complain. Right now it's 3-2 Panthers. I still believe that the Panthers eventually close it out, but the Bruins are making this a little bit more difficult than I thought that they were going to be able to. The Boston Bruins needed... These were my keys to the series before. The Boston Bruins needed to match the physicality of Matthew Tkachuk, of Alexander Barkov, of Aaron Ekblad, of these great and strong Florida Panthers skaters. David Pastrnak needed to dominate, unlike the Maple Leaf series. Put a star on that one. He still hasn't been able to do so. And until he does so, I don't believe the Boston Bruins can win this series. The Florida needed scoring in depth. They have absolutely gotten that. The Boston Bruins have not played their game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They were going to need to go back to that, penalty killing ways. They were amazing on the penalty kill against the Toronto Maple Leafs, but that was the Toronto Maple Leafs just absolutely in shambles there. That was more of a fault of the Maple Leafs than a domination of the Bruins, in my opinion. So they needed to get back to their just fundamental hockey. Swayman needed to be great, and he has been great. They started this series with a lot of high-scoring games, which was unlike the Boston Bruins, unlike Jeremy Swayman, and unlike Sergei Bobrovsky. It was weird how this series started. But the last game and the game before that is what I expect more out of this series here. Lower scoring and kind of goaltending battle. Jeremy Swayman versus Sergei Bobrovsky. That was my last key to this series. Who's going to win that battle? The goalie that wins that battle is going to win this series. Swayman's been pulled in this series. He's given up more goals than Sergei Bobrovsky has in this series. I got to say Sergei Bobrovsky is outplaying Jeremy Swayman so far. If you eliminate that game 5, it's not even close. Sergei Bobrovsky has been outplaying Jeremy Swayman in this series. So, this goes to show what I was talking about. The Bruins aren't going to win without Jeremy Swayman being amazing. They won that game 5 because Jeremy Swayman was amazing. I don't think you're going to see that for 3 games straight. My updated predictions in this series is the Florida Panthers in 7. I think that they close this one out on home ice. The Boston Bruins have a lot of momentum. I believe that game is played on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. I'm actually going to double check that. Yes. No, that game is played on Friday. The Boston Bruins versus the Florida Panthers. So you have a 2-day break for the Florida Panthers here. And the Boston Bruins. So a little bit of the similar things that we're seeing in the New York Rangers Carolina Hurricanes series. Are both of those teams going to be able to kind of get a rest, and are the Florida Panthers going to be able to get a mental reset? My updated predictions, Panthers in 7. I still think that they take this series on home ice though. Moving on to the Western Conference, and you have the Colorado Avalanche versus the Dallas Stars here. My prediction originally was Avs in 6. And it's already wrong. That cannot happen anymore. Current 3-1 to the Stars. I didn't know Valeri Nichushkin was gonna not be in the league for 6 months, starting a couple days ago. Like, what? Can you blame me here? That's not a part of my prediction. You're losing your top goal scorer. I can't be faulted for that one. 3-1 Stars right now. They've been playing very well. It's Miro Heiskanen. It's Wyatt Johnson. They're young guys. Oh, the Colorado Avalanche were able to tie it back up. It is 2-2 in that series going into the third period. I'm very excited to watch the rest of that game. But yeah, hopefully that the Colorado Avalanche can pull that one off and make this prediction look a little bit better than what it is looking like right now. Because the Dallas Stars could definitely win this game. This is on home ice for them. This game that's being played currently. But yeah, Avs in 6 was my prediction. 3-1 Stars right now. My keys to the series were gonna be the Avs Superstars versus the Dallas Stars, its veterans and their depth. Who's gonna win that battle? So far, it's been the Dallas Stars, no question. The Colorado Avalanche, fantastic superstars, won them game 1. You haven't seen it since, really. All the rest of this series, you haven't seen it since. And now I'm curious to see who's doing the scoring. We'll talk about that in the final segment. It's the superstars who is scoring in this game. But yeah, it's that was my biggest key, was who's going to win that battle. It's been the Dallas Stars' depth. It's been Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn. It's been Joe Pavelski, Miro Heiskanen, the guys that have been on the Dallas Stars for a very long time, are continuing to show why they've been in the league for as long as they have been. you have Cale Makar, who was able to steal game 1 in this one. My second biggest key was Cale Makar versus Miro Heiskanen. Cale Makar is the best defender in the NHL right now. Miro Heiskanen is a top 5 defender, though. You got to give that guy credit. He is amazing. And he was able to get 2 goals in game 3, I believe it was. He has outplayed Cale Makar in this series. And I'm very shocked and very surprised that he's been able to outplay Cale Makar in this series. We're going to see if that could continue. I think it's a little bit of an anomaly. I think it is a little... it's a shock, right? It's a shock that you're getting that production out of Miro Heiskanen, but it's even more that you're not getting the production of Cale Makar. I believe that that's going to change, though. My final key is going to be Jake Onger versus Alexander Georgiev. I was blanking on his first name for a second there. Jake Onger, Alexander Georgiev. Jake Onger has been the far and away better goaltender in this series, and he is the far and away better goaltender overall than Alexander Georgiev. He's stealing games. He's shutting down a very, very scary and very prominent Avalanche offense, and Jake Onger showing how impressive he can be in this series. And then you have, so my updated prediction, I'm running a little bit long on this segment, so I got to hurry it up a little bit here. My updated prediction, little out there. I'm still going with the Colorado Avalanche. Although they are down 3-1 in this series, they need to win 3 games straight. I still believe that they can do it. I think it's going to be Avs in 7. I think that they have the talent. I think that they have the star power to do so. Cale Makar is going to turn up, is my prediction here. Oilers Canucks, final one. My prediction was Oilers in 5. It is currently 2-2 to the Canucks. The key to this series was going to be the Oilers power play, and the Canucks needed to stay out of the box. It is a 46.7% power play percentage for the Edmonton Oilers. That is shocking. Vancouver Canucks need to find a way to slow that down, and I don't think that they are going to be able to. The Canucks need to stay out of the box. The Canucks need to win 5-on-5, and they have been in their wins, and that's been the key. Shelovs versus Stuart Skinner. Apparently, it's Shelovs versus Calvin Pickard. Shelovs have outplayed Calvin Pickard to this point. The Oilers needing to win Game 4, they were able to do so. So it's 2-2 in that series now. My updated prediction: Oilers in 6. I think that they win the next 2 games straight. I think that they are the better team than the Vancouver Canucks, and I think that they're gonna win this series in 6. So that'll wrap it up for our third segment, and when I come back, we will be talking about the Conn Smythe and who I think should be the favorite to win it for each team.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, guys, we are back, and we're starting our fourth segment here, who I believe is the Conn Smythe winner for each team. This is what the trophy looks like for those of you that don't know. This is the trophy that gets handed out to the basically Finals MVP, if you're thinking about like NBA terms or the NFL, Super Bowl MVP. It's the same, but this is a playoff long award, unlike the Super Bowl MVP, who it just kind of goes to the best player in that game. That's how you see Julian Edelman getting a Super Bowl MVP. That's not the case in the NHL. It's not the case in hockey. It's whoever is the best player for the team for the entire playoffs. So I'm just going to get right into this. For the New York Rangers, I believe it's Igor Shesterkin right now. I think it has to be Igor Shesterkin right now. He's completely shutting the door on a lot of offensives. He's forcing teams to be creative with how they need to score goals, and that's such a hard thing to beat. You have a 2.33 goals against average. He is saving 92.4%, he has a .924 save percentage, so he's saving 92.4% of every shot that is taken onto him. He's been absolutely unbelievable, shutting the door completely on any opposing offense. And then I have an honorable mention. Mika Zibanejad is my honorable mention for the New York Rangers. He's the highest scoring forward. 10 assists, 3 goals in these playoffs. He was unbelievable in the first 2 games that they won in this series. So, yeah, Mika Zibanejad, honorable mention here. Carolina Hurricanes, I have it being Sebastian Aho. He's been their entire offense. He leads the team in scoring with 10 points in 10 games played. He's been unbelievable. He's the reason that Jake Gensel is being set up so well. He's the reason, you have Andrei Svechnikov having a pretty good playoffs because of him. Brady Shea having a really good playoff because of Sebastian Aho, in my opinion. And then honorable mention for the Carolina Hurricanes, it's Brady Shea. And I could honestly see an argument for Brady Shea to be the to get the Conn Smythe for the Carolina Hurricanes. He has 9 assists as a defenseman. He's also been very good defensively from the last 2 games that the Carolina Hurricanes have won. I had a little bit of questions when it came to Brady Shea's defense from the first 3 games here, because I just saw so many New York Rangers players just alone in the slot here, and that was not the case in the last 2 games. It's been very impressive for Brady Shea. So he is an honorable mention, but I think it's got to go to Sebastian Aho. He's stealing games, man. He is an unbelievable talent. For the Boston Bruins, if they were to win the Stanley Cup, I think you have to give it to Jeremy Swayman, and I think you can only give it to Jeremy Swayman on the Boston Bruins. Nobody else is stepping up on this team. It's not David Pastrnak. It's not Charlie McAvoy. It's absolutely Jeremy Swayman, who is playing just completely lights out right now in these playoffs. A 2.16 goals against average. He has a 93.4 save percentage. He stole 2 to 3 games in the Maple Leaf series, and then he stole Game 5 against the Panthers. He's been unbelievable. I talked about it on an earlier podcast. I've heard this saying from Joel Klatt, a famous college football commentator for Fox. You can't go broke taking a profit. And the first time I heard him talk about that was when he used it in reference to the Michigan offense last year. When Sherrod Moore came in for that Penn State game, and you have J.J. McCarthy, but you're going to keep going to that Donovan Edwards or that Blake Corum because those are your running backs, and they have been unbelievable, especially at being able to, 3 yards in a cloud of dust was that Michigan offense. And that's I can kind of relate that to Jeremy Swayman's performance. You have Linus Ullmark, who is an unbelievable goaltender, but he's forcing you to continue to go to Jeremy Swayman, and he's forcing you to keep putting his name top of that team sheet. And these 2 guys are best friends outside of the game. These 2 guys love each other. I will pull up the picture. I have it right here. I mean, this is what they do after every game here. After every win, they do this. They love each other. Jeremy Swayman is not hard, or Linus Ullmark is not hard done by what Jeremy Swayman is able to do. But yeah, he's been unbelievable. He's stolen the Boston Bruins so many games in these playoffs. If it was just an outright MVP for any player, not just like a Stanley Cup winning player, you can make an argument that it could go to Jeremy Swayman no matter what. He's been that great. But as far as the Florida Panthers go, the Bruins' kind of nemesis right now, I would say it goes to Alexander Barkov. And it's a little bit toss-up of 2 forwards. I wouldn't be mad either way. I think Alexander Barkov brings a little bit better defensive mindset, and he also has 1 more goal than Matthew Tkachuk. 13 points for Alexander Barkov, 5 goals, 8 assists for Matthew Tkachuk. He also has 13 points, but he has 4 goals and 9 assists. So I kind of used 1 more goal for Matthew Tkachuk, 1 less assist, of course. But I think he's a little bit better defensively. And Matthew Tkachuk can definitely win this Conn Smythe. And maybe Bobrovsky, but he doesn't have great numbers, is why I didn't go for Sergei Bobrovsky for the Florida Panthers. Colorado Avalanche, I have it being This was by far the hardest one. Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, and Nathan MacKinnon all have 12 points. They all have 3 goals, and they all have 9 assists. How am I supposed to separate that? Here's what I did. I went with Cale Makar. He's the defenseman. I love Cale Makar as a player. I think he is such a fun talent to watch. So, I mean, it might be a little bit of bias here, but I think I'm going to go with Cale Makar because he's that defenseman, and he's able to bring that into his game as well. Maybe Nathan MacKinnon should deserve it because he's been really driving a lot of these goals that the Avalanche are scoring. But I'm going to go with Cale Makar with the Avalanche. As far as the Dallas Stars are concerned, I would say it's Miro Heiskanen. He has 4 goals and 8 assists from the point. He's come alive in this series specifically against the Colorado Avalanche, really stealing a lot of games. The Colorado Avalanche scored 2 early in the third period. It is now 4-2 in that game. We'll talk more about that in the next segment. That's looking like a Game 6 there. But yeah, I think it's Miro Heiskanen, and I think you could definitely make a really convincing argument if Miro Heiskanen isn't having as great of a series as he is, and this might be a little bit of recency bias for me. Jake Oettinger, he has the best stats of any goaltender in the playoffs with a 202 goals against average. That is the lowest goals against average of any active goalie in the playoffs right now. He has a 923 save percentage, which is not as high as... Actually, I'm a little bit curious. It is not as high as Jeremy Swayman's, and it's a 1,000th of a point less than Igor Shesterkin, but with giving up, a tenth of a less goal per game than either of those goaltenders. So I think Jake Oettinger could have a very realistic argument about being the best goaltender in the playoffs. So I wouldn't mind if you wanted to give it to him, but I went with Miro Heiskanen. I think he's playing unbelievable in this series specifically and really helping the Dallas Stars win that Game 3 and that Game 4 on the road. The Vancouver Canucks, my next team, my penultimate team here in these rankings, I went with Brock Besser. 12 points in 10 games played. He has 7 goals and 5 assists. He won them Game 3 by just getting out to that unbelievable start in the first period. And he's been amazing in this Edmonton series specifically. I kind of called on him before the series. Brock Besser and Elias Pettersson needed to get things going. One of them did. Brock Besser definitely has gotten things going. Elias Pettersson a little, still not being able to get going in these playoffs. That concerns me for the Vancouver Canucks. That's why I think that the Edmonton Oilers are going to win this game because that's your first-line center. That's still not going for them. Honorable mention is JT Miller. 2 goals, 9 assists in 10 games played. He's been great. Brock Besser with 1 more point and 5 more goals. So that's why I went Brock Besser for the Vancouver Canucks. I don't think you can give it to Artur Shilovs, although, man, what a story that kid is. 23 years old, absolutely stepping up for the Vancouver Canucks in these playoffs. The last team here, the Edmonton Oilers, and this one was brutal. This one might have been even more brutal than the Colorado Avalanche one. Leon Draisaitl has 20 points in 9 games played. He is playing NHL career mode on rookie mode. He's insane. Connor McDavid, 18 points in 9 games played. He is playing NHL career mode on rookie mode. Evan Bouchard, he's a defenseman with 15 points in 9 games played. So this one was very difficult. You have 18 points for McDavid, 20 points for Draisaitl, 15 points for Bouchard. I'm going to go with Draisaitl, most points on the team here, but I could hear an argument for all of those guys. Connor McDavid absolutely just driving this offense with 16 assists. He almost has 2 assists per game. That's insane. That is insane. I'm actually curious to know how many of those Draisaitl goals did not come from Connor McDavid's sticks passing it to him. I don't think it's that many. So yeah, I could hear an argument for Connor McDavid, and then Evan Bouchard is an absolute cannon from the point on the power play, and I could definitely hear an argument for that guy. But I'm going to go with Leon Draisaitl. 8 goals, nearly a goal a game. He's over 2 points per game in these playoffs. He's winning 55% of his faceoffs. He's been great. And that's going to do it for the Conn Smythe talk. When I come back, we will be talking about the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche. All right, guys, we have our final segment of the night. Previewing is what I have listed in my notes. It's not a preview. This game's halfway through the third period. This game is 83% of the way done. So, right now it's 4-3 to the Colorado Avalanche in this Game 5. The Dallas Stars coming into this game lead it 3-1 the series. Game 4 was very well played by the Stars. More so, Colorado Avalanche looked checked. I didn't think that they were gonna be able to win that Game 4 in any possible way. But let me tell you, the Colorado Avalanche have the talent. They can definitely come back from a 3-1 deficit. I think that this is an unbelievable team. They won the Stanley Cup Final in 2022. They're only 2 years removed from that. It would be very disappointing to see them not make it past the second round in this one. But a little bit of the breakdown of the scoring here. In the first period, halfway through the first period, you had Joe Pavelski with his first goal of the playoffs. Him finally gained on the board. This was assisted from Matt Duchene and Jason Robertson. This was on 5-on-5. It's good to see Joe Pavelski get on the board finally for the Dallas Stars here. Then with once I have not been able to watch any of this game. I've been, sat here doing this podcast for the last hour. With 1 second left of the first period, I've got to watch this one when I get off this. With 1 second left in the first period, Arturi Lehkonen scores a power play goal assisted by Nathan McKinnon. 1 second left in the period, that is brutal. So you go into the first intermission, tied 1-1. Miro Heiskanen, guy I was just talking about, gets his 5th goal of the playoffs from the defense min position. And it comes from Jason Robertson and Joe Pavelski. Joe Pavelski with a 2-point game so far, getting a goal and assist on the first 2 goals for the Dallas Stars. He only has 3 points in this entire playoffs. I was going to call on him to be one of the guys that need to step up, one of the veteran forwards. But it looks like he's kind of answering the call here with a goal and assist. So the Stars are up 1-0 midway through the second period. And then late in the second period, it's Cale Makar. From Jonathan Drouin, who needed to step up big in that Valeri Nichushkin-sized hole in the forward group, and it looks like he is. That's another power play goal, this one from the Colorado Avalanche. This is their second of the game. These last 3 goals all come from the power play. And it's Mikko Rantanen, Cale Makar, and Jonathan Drouin that combined for that goal. Cale Makar, man, it looks like he can steal this game for them. Casey Milstat gets the 3rd goal for the Colorado Avalanche to go up 3-2 early in the third period. That's that 4th line for the Colorado Avalanche. That is a great sign for them. And then Cale Makar on an unassisted goal only 2 minutes after that Dallas Stars goal. That's his 5th goal of the playoffs here. I might have to change that note of who's the Conn Smythe winner for the Colorado Avalanche. It might be Cale Makar now with 5 goals to his name. And then Logan Stankoven, only a minute after that Cale Makar goal, brings them back within 1. And it is Dallas Stars power play right now. Let's see if they can capitalize on it. I'm interested in this game. I can't wait to get out of here and watch the rest of that. It looks like that's going to have a very fun finish. But for this series, the Colorado Avalanche, of course, need to win this game, down 3-1 in the series. It's an elimination game. We talk about it in every single series. It's hard to win that 4th game of a series. The Dallas Stars are showing that in this one, down 4-3. Let's see if they can tie it late in this one. The Colorado Avalanche can definitely come back in this series, though. I think that this is an unbelievable core. You have the talent. You have the skill line from the blue line. The skill from the blue line. You have the skill from the forward group to do it. And it looks like Jonathan Drouin is being able to step up in the place of Valeri Nichushkin. That Game 4 was always going to be a loss for the Colorado Avalanche. Literally minutes or hours before that game, they're told that their leading scorer is out for 6 months. That's hard to handle. That's hard for any team. You can't blame them for that one. But it's hard because now they have to win 3 games in a row. We'll see if if they can close this one out, make it only 2 games in a row. This team is talented, and for the Colorado Avalanche, it's always they're gonna go as far as Alexander Georgiev will take them. I don't know if he has the talent to beat the Edmonton Oilers, and I don't think that the Colorado Avalanche can beat the Edmonton Oilers. However, if there was a team to do it, I think it is the Colorado Avalanche in the West. In the East, I think that the Panthers and the Rangers both are definitely favored in that series against the Edmonton Oilers. But I think that the Avalanche Oilers series will be the most interesting outcome from the West for me. That's no shade on the Dallas Stars. That's no shade on the Vancouver Canucks, who I think both have unbelievable cores. I think the superstar and the skill on the blue line in that series would be unmatched throughout any of these playoffs. Cam Makar versus Evan Bouchard. You have Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid. You have Leon Draisaitl, Mikko Rantanen. These teams stack up very well. And then you have goaltenders that are Alexander Georgiev and Calvin Pickard or Stuart Skinner. That's a very intriguing series. That would be a very exciting series, and I think I would enjoy that one the most. But, can't count the chickens before they hatch here. It looks like the Dallas Stars are going to drop this Game 5, but you got 2 more games to close this team out without their leading goal scorer in the playoffs. It'll be interesting to see if the Dallas Stars are able to do so on such a skilled and talented Colorado Avalanche team. But with that being said, guys, thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Hockey Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Thank you guys once again, and have a wonderful night.
Let's go.